Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey. On December 28th, 2021, this here little podcast published our review of The Low End Theory by A Tribe Called Quest. And right now, Phil's thinking, it's been that long? Yes, it has indeed been that long. Crazy how time passes. It's a fun episode, kids. Please, by all means, go look it up. I think you'll enjoy it. We did it justice, I assure you. We raved, we ranted, all in a good way. The Low End Theory is a classic album. Not just a classic Quest album, but also a classic album, period. Okay? Let's just call it what it is. One of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. The album we're talking about here today, some argue, perhaps, is just as important, if not more important. We'll get into that here today because we are talking about Midnight Marauders. If you know A Tribe Called Quest, then you know this album. You know how influential their work has been over the years. You know how when you listen to their music then, it sounds unlike anything else around, and how today it continues to sound like anything else around. These guys made their mark by sampling jazz, by using different kinds of beats. Their melodies are different, their raps are different, and it's good to stand out. Hard to stand out in this genre these days, kids, okay? At any given time, it's hard to stand out in the rap genre because there's so many talented individuals in that genre, just like with rock and roll or anything else. Sometimes it's hard to stand out, but Tribe absolutely did stand out, and again are considered one of the greatest hip-hop acts of all time. And I'm telling you, when it comes to this album, it's got a lot of staunch defenders out there that believes this is in the top 10 greatest hip-hop albums of all time and bigger than the other one, Low End Theory. Let's get into it here today, kids. Midnight Marauders is the third studio album by A Tribe Called Quest, released on November 9th, 1993. That's right, kids. As of this recording, it's 30 years old. We're all one step closer to the grave. Released by Jive Records. Recording sessions for the album Recording sessions for the album occurred at Battery Studios, Platinum Island Studios, and Sorcerer Sound in New York City. Its production was mainly handled by Q-Tip, with contributions from Skef Anselm, Large Professor, and the group's DJ Ali Shaheed Muhammad. A culmination of the group's two previous albums, People's Instinctive Travels and The Paths of Rhythm, and The Low End Theory, it features an eclectic, gritty sound based on jazz, funk, soul, and R&B samples, in addition to socially conscious, positively minded, and humorous lyrics. And that, kids, is your lowdown for Midnight Marauders. So, Phil, as we get into this album, I stated this on socials recently, but I'll state it for the sake of this here podcast. This is number 130 for episodes you and I have recorded together. I don't know about you, but it does not feel like it's been that many. It's flown by. So, as always, appreciation to you for being on the ride, and thanks so much for everything you do for the show here. Always much appreciated. And part two, is this album better than The Low End Theory? What's your take on this album?
I think that in terms of importance, it's right up there with Low End Theory. Definitely doesn't feel like 130 episodes, by the way.
Right.
That's a lot of episodes. It's been a great ride. It's been a great ride going through movies, music, TV, comics, whatever else. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I think this album is it's as important. I think it's influential. I mean, when you see the album cover, you immediately know it. It's a iconic album cover. It's got some of the most well-known Tribe singles on it. I think that the production and everything on it had a huge influence on hip hop going forward. I feel like it changed the face of the genre. A lot of big name producers like Kanye West, like Pharrell, have said that it changed the way that they produce music.
Mm.
And you could see Q-Tip's approach on so many other projects, whether it be Mob Deep and so many other things, and how people sample their choice of samples and everything. Um, it's a very groundbreaking album. I don't think it's a stretch to say that.
I agree with you. I personally still prefer Low End Theory, but I absolutely understand the importance of this album and agree that it definitely has its place. I mean, we should also note it's at number 201 on Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time. Now, if you care about that sort of thing, kids, that means something to you. But if your favorites are left out of a countdown or too low by that certain publication, you may not care. But it
Yeah,
is pretty historic, man. I guess it depends on your opinion of that publication too.
yeah. I think when you're comparing it to Low End Theory, I think it's subjective, of course, but I think it's your preference of music. And for
Mm,
me, Low End Theory kind of doesn't let up from the first song on. Like I think for about 10 songs, there is no skip. And some of the songs on here, on Midnight Marauders, they're not. I won't say that they're not as memorable, but for me, they don't hit as hard as it's like the first 10 songs on Low End Theory.
I 100% agree. That's the key here is the flow of the album is, we talk about Abbey Road. We've covered Abbey Road here on the show about how you can just flow from one to the Peppers that way too. There's several albums out there that you can just flow from one song to the next and you don't end up going, eh. I mean, I've got a couple on here that I like better than others. So I absolutely agree with you. All right, so what is it that makes that album more cohesive? Is that why? Because it is more cohesive. What, in your opinion, what separates that from this?
I just think that there's a stretch of songs on Low End Theory that, like I said, it just doesn't miss. Like sequencing wise, like every song feeds into an even better song. Excursion goes into Bugging Out,
Mm,
which goes into Rap Promoter, which goes into Butter, which goes into Verses. Like there is no misses in the first half of that album.
no two ways about it. Yeah, absolutely. No misses, as you said. Yeah, for me, it's the flow. It's knowing when to go left and when to go right on an album, and this melody complements this next song, and this is up tempo, this is mid tempo, this is down tempo, and knowing how all those things fit. I mean, that's the mark of a great producer. Not that this one isn't paced correctly, but I'm of the belief that the other album is paced much better. So I absolutely agree with that. We have to talk a little bit about this album before we really get cranking on this. This thing, of course, is I say of course because obviously, of course, it has been certified platinum in the United States. How about that? Certified silver in the UK. It spent the peak position on the UK Billboard chart, UK album chart, I should say, is number 70. US Billboard 200 peak position was number 8, and the number 1 position on the R&B hip hop albums of Billboard in the United States. And for the year end charts of 94, its position is 24. So lots of people listened and bought this album, Phil, which is that doesn't always mean it's worth your purchase, but again, in a genre that's got a lot of choices, a lot of acts, MCs, groups, duos, singles to choose from, to be able to stand out is not the easiest thing in the world. Man, these guys absolutely, man. I was listening to this album again today, and dude, it stands a test of time. Like these melodies and the jazz and the beats behind it, this stuff still sounds fresh to me, man. Does it hit you that way too?
Yeah, I think it's still a very relevant album. Subject matter, the sound and everything still is relevant because, like I said, it's still a very influential album. Nothing. I mean, you could argue like some of the slang and some stuff feels dated, but I still think that it's still a very fresh album today in 2023.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree totally. Well, let's get into this album, kids. Now, just so you know, we're going through the original 14 tracks of this album. Total runtime 51 minutes, 12 seconds. And yes, I think there's been a couple of other editions of this album. There should have been a 30th edition of this album released this year. I'm sure there was as we near the end of the calendar year here in 2023. But yeah, we're going to go basically through the original 14 songs. The first one out the gate is not very long. It's only 45 seconds. It's a spoken word with some music behind it. Midnight Marauders tour guide. That's basically all it is. It is a voiceover, and the voiceover is a robotic voice performed by Laurel Dan. Presents the album as a program and serves as a guiding line, meaning leading the listener throughout the length of it. And it's not a song, but it kind of sets the tone. It's one of those. It's one of those, like set the tone and let you know what you're in for. But basically, it just feels like, again, like you're on tour or something. So it's kind of a quick throwaway something, something. It kind of reminds me of the stuff that DMX would do in his albums, where he would just throw something in like a bit, and then it would lead to the next song. So there you go. Not very long, and we kick the album off. The second track, which is the real track, it runs for 3 minutes, 11 seconds, is Steve Biko, in parentheses, Stir It Up. Dude, this kicks off one of the most recognizable beginnings of any Quest song, period. And it's got that horn, and dude, you instantly know it's them. Is this the best song? Is this the best song on the album, you think?
It's not in my opinion. I really enjoy Steve Biko. Of course, named after South African activist Steve Biko, I believe. It's great. You can feel like across the song all of Q-Tip's influences. I mean, the fact that it's named after Steve Biko, and we know like Q-Tip's like social political beliefs, like his musical style is there, his aesthetic is there, and I absolutely love his verse towards the end of the album. I mean, end of the song over the breakdown with the record scratching, so great. And not to say that he leaves Fife in the dust on this record, but this very much feels like a Q-Tip record.
And you know what? The other Low End Theory, it felt more like Five Dog on that album, didn't it? Kind of felt like more of his record.
Well, he had records that were clearly his records, like Butter and like Verses from Abstract is a Q-Tip song. Like, so it feels like they went back and forth, and they do that here as well. But this song, it feels like more of a Q-Tip song than anything, with like some really good verses from Fife. But like, I don't know, every time I hear this song, I immediately think Q-Tip. Kind of the same way when you think of Excursion from Low End Theory, in a way that album starts, like it just feels so Q-Tip. Like the second album starts, you start with Q-Tip's verse, and it's such a memorable verse. And I would just say, like, just the sound and idea of the song, it just screams Q-Tip to me.
I agree with that. I mean, it kicks off with that iconic horn. Linda Boulevard, represent, sent. It's hard to do this and not rap, and I'm not a rapper, so I'm trying not to butcher it. Tribe Called Quest, represent, sent. When the mic is in my hand, I'm never hesitant. My favorite jam back in the day was Eric B. for president. It's awesome. And dude, shout out to Five Dog. Rest in peace, right? His voice, I'm going to tell you something. Talk about butter. Smooth as butter is Five Dog's delivery. Like, we could probably sit here and do a countdown of the smoothest voices in the history of hip hop. He's got to be top 10, man, if not top 5. Just makes it sound effortless, like he's not out of breath, he's not trying hard. A lot of this is editing in the studio, I'm sure, but it just sounds like he's never in a rush. He's laid back, but it works, and it still has impact, but it doesn't sound like he's hurrying his way through a track. He sounds great on this album, man. I gotta say that as we get started. He sounds really good on this song as well.
Yeah, I feel like Fife, of course, came into his own on Low End Theory, but I feel like he matured a lot across both of these albums, and these two albums are not classic albums without Fife.
Absolutely. Rude Boy Composer, Step to Me, You're Over. Brothers Wanna Flex, You're Not Mad Cobra. MC Short and Black, There Ain't No Other. Trini Born Like Nia Long's Grandmother. Dude, that's really good. Just this is art form, kids, in case you didn't know, putting these things together, man. I defy anyone to say it's not. This is poetry in motion here. Literally. The height of Muggsy Bogues, complexion of a hockey puck. Good Lord. But yeah, it's again, man, this a fun tune. It's one of my favorites on the album. I don't know if it is. I think the next one is. Look, I mean, maybe just because the next one is so well known, but this to me is just as well known. I like it's an important track. They shout out New York City in here. which is cool. Q-Tip's doing his thing. And like we said, it's very much, I think we compared them to Lennon and McCartney on the other review, where one would take a turn, the other guy would take his turn, and they're kind of going back and forth. Maybe one upping each other, Phil, in a positive way. You think there was anything here about true competition, or they're just having fun going back and forth?
I mean, they had a very competitive relationship,
Mm-hmm.
which turned into real life tension,
Right.
and some unfortunate stuff later in their career. Um, but I thought that it created a good environment. It created good music on Low End Theory and this album.
Mm,
I thought it never felt like any of they were ever trying to step on anybody's toes or anything.
mm,
Um, I thought they have a perfect tandem on each song that they're on. They play off each other really well. Because I think you're right. Fife does, for lack of a better words, even if I don't want to call it smooth, he comes off very controlled, like almost like jazz in my mind is like controlled chaos. And I feel like Fife does that with his vocals in a lot of ways. Like he's very high energy, he's very in your face in a way, but it also is very controlled.
mm.
And I think in the same way, Tip is like smooth. He comes in, he's always, and I mean, this guy is the poster boy for control. I mean, like that we've heard very much the story. If we're making the comparison of Paul and John, he's definitely the Paul in this relationship because he
Mm.
definitely has his fingertips in everything and wants to control the voice and the sound of all the records that he's on.
Well, dude, I think you're dead on. Think you're dead on. It should be noted here also, kids, this album was released the same day as Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers.
Yeah,
Ooh, on the same day in 93. Isn't that something?
yeah, classic day in hip hop. There was another big album that came out the same day. Why am I forgetting what it is?
I think you're right, but it escapes me as well.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but there were three big albums. Of course, the two big ones was the Wu Tang record and this album.
Right. By the way, we've covered that Wu-Tang album, kids. Go check it out. It's in the archives. Yeah, I enjoy this track. Again, it's not my personal favorite, but I do enjoy it. I think my personal favorite is coming up. But yeah, I do enjoy it very much. Not my favorite one on the album, I don't believe. I think that's the second one, right? But again, it's iconic in its sound, if nothing else. Listed on this track, Jonathan Davis, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, and Malik Taylor. And that trio is basically on every track. Well, they are on every track, and then on a few different tracks, they're accompanied by other people on the credits for writer. So there you go, 3 minutes 11 seconds for this song. We go to track 3. This is a Award Tour featuring Trugoy the Dove, and I'm gonna tell you something, man. This for me is my favorite song on this album. It's got the melody is there, the music sounds good. It's laid back. They're in the pocket on the harmony, on the beats. I love this song, man. What's your take on this tune?
Yeah, definitely one of the most recognizable Tribe records. Um, yeah, World Tour. When I think about it, like, of course, it's been, interpolated and used over and over again on other people's stuff. It's been referenced a ton. Um, I just think it's one of those quintessential Tribe records. Just the production on it is incredible. Um, Everybody attached to it on it is incredible. There's a chemistry, of course, because De La is a part of the native tongues with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, rest in peace as well to True Goe.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, it's one of those songs that it's one of the most known records off of the album. I'm like, even if you've never heard this album before, you've heard a World Tour. It'd just be impossible to not hear a World Tour.
Oh, for sure. Q-Tip, in a quote to Vibe magazine, said, quote, "I love the drums on Award Tour." And then there's the sample I used from Jade's Don't Walk Away. It's all about that bass line. I just wanted to flip it. So I went through some more records and I got that Rhodes to counter the melody and the bass line. I wanted some drums that would smack that S out of the park. End quote. The single topped Billboard's Hot Dance Music Maxi Singles Sales chart while peaking at number 7 on the Hot Rap Songs chart and 47 on the Billboard Hot 100, making it their most successful single. I don't know if I knew that.
I don't think I would have known that, but like I said, it's a quintessential Tribe record. It's like one of their biggest records for sure.
It's so good. Oh man, it's again. I'll say it'll put you to sleep, but that's a compliment to me. It's one of those songs that I can put on and just chill to. It's not, some songs I need it to be loud and I need to burst some speakers because I'm in that kind of mood. And I don't know. I don't go around breaking stuff, but I'll turn it up real loud if I need it loud, depending on my mood. But this is one of those songs that's just put your feet up and take a beat and breathe and just enjoy it, man. Dude, that's the best part of music here to me, Phil, is when it can speak to so many people and have an effect on you emotionally and psychologically. And for me, this song does it. You're right. It's in fact, I heard this and it's something I was watching not too long ago, and it was you could hear in the background of the show, and I'm like, oh, there's that song. So it made me think about this album. But yeah, it's really good. The lyrics are on point. Ali Shaheed Muhammad is very much on this. And it's funny, man. Like, I'm not saying we don't talk about him a lot, but a lot of the focus is on Q-Tip and Five Dog, man. I mean, what's your take on that? Do you think Muhammad was okay being behind that duo, or do you think that's just how the dynamic of the band played out as the time went on, or what?
I think that's just how it played out because they're the two main voices on every album, and people don't know all the credits. They don't know all the songs that Shaheed produced or helped produce.
Mhm.
And even with that, like Tip has such a big hand in the production on everything, so it's hard to tell how much of it is Q-Tip and how much Shaheed is helping with.
That's fair.
Um, and so I don't know. Of course he's their DJ, and of course, like when you see them together, um, you think the four of them.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of hard to tell what his contributions are.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know if we can overstate how important this song is and to them and how good this song is overall. I mean, it's a classic. It's my favorite on this album. I just think it's that good. And this song comes in at 3 minutes 46 seconds. Not the longest track on the album. In fact, the longest track on the album is the next track, number 4, 8 million stories. And 8 million stories, man, the beat itself is worth the price of admission. It is so good. That's what I was saying when we started kicking this thing off today, man. So much stuff on this album works, of course, which is why it's so memorable. What's your take on 8 million stories?
I love that bass line. I love the fight first that starts the record. Very simple refrain on the hook that's just like problems, problems, got problems. It's very simple, but it works. I think
Hmm.
it's I wouldn't say that it's one of my favorite songs on the album, but it's definitely one of the most memorable songs on the album. When you cut it on and get going, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just basically this song is about a bad day. From waking up, going on dates, to helping friends, Five Dog seems to run into trouble everywhere he goes. He knows he's not the only one who has a bad day, though. The thousands of floors or stories of project housing filled with millions of people are rife with stories and tales about what could have been. So you got a little bit of wordplay going on with the title of this song here, which I like. The samples here are Betna by Bola Sete and Over the Rainbow by the Ohio Players. And Jay-Z paid homage to this song in Empire State of Mind with, let's see, if Jeezy's paying LeBron, I'm paying Dwayne Wade. 8 million stories out there in the naked. So
Ah,
yeah, there you go. I don't know if I would have put those two and two together, man, but that makes sense now.
yeah. I mean, Jay has paid homage to them several times.
Hmm.
On his first album, when he's doing 22 twos. In the middle of it, he's doing a "Can I kick it?" and then he says, "Y'all must have not heard that Tribe Called Quest."
Yeah, that's good. Oh, there's another iconic. Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Oh man, that's yeah, dude, 100%. But yeah, the lyrics here, my blood pressure's blowing up. I can't take the S. Finally got what he wanted. Now he's good to go. Again, the ride was smashed. Where's my radio? One time my car was in the shop. I had to borrow. See, they had no mercy on the car. Leo would kill me. Where the Edge can Nikki be? I'm going to smack her up. I got the tickets for the Knicks and she cold stood me up. Again, man, it's poetry. I'm sorry. I just, I don't use that word a whole lot with hip hop because I think some guys are actually better at it than others. Five Dog's a master, man. Hopefully he's getting his dues, getting his credit where he deserves it because, man, it's really good stuff.
I mean, again, I think Low End Theory is his coming out party. That was when he really showed that he was a great lyricist, and uh, he was he was one of the better rappers in the group. But I feel like he matured not just as an artist, but I think we learned more about who he is as well with this album.
Mm.
This is, of course, the album where we find out that he's a diabetic, um, and just some of the other things in here. I think you come away from this album knowing more about who Fife is as a person.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Dog actually talked about the pressure the group faced to make a solid follow up to Low End Theory. At the time, he said, quote, obviously that's a 2-year wait. So there was a lot of pressure like, can they do it again? Q-Tip is really hands on. He's a genius. So by the time he was finished sequencing the album, I was looking at him saying, yo, we did it again. Hey, kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. B-O-I-N-K, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. So they knew kind of out the gate, oh man, we've got something here. The album title, which we did not mention, originated from Q-Tip's lyrics in the song Vibes and Stuff from the Low End Theory, and later interpreted by group member Ali Shaheed Muhammad that A Tribe Called Quest are like sound thieves looting for your ears. So there you go.
Yeah, fits perfectly.
It does fit perfectly. And boy, what you said about that album cover is 100%. Because when you see it, you're like, what am I looking at? Because it's so different. But that's the point. They were different. They stood out. They weren't, typical, maybe pissed off rappers who were yelling or gold chains or whatever. They're not the aesthetic of what maybe some folks had come to expect from rap. That's not what they did. They were from a much different place. And dude, you gotta have variety in every walk of music. Not everybody can be Metallica and rock. You have to have different tastes in rock also. I think hip hop's the same way. I think that's why these guys have stood the test of time,
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that stands out to me every time I see the album cover is just it just shows how much they loved hip hop music and just how much they not just wanted to make good music, but they also wanted to highlight what all of their friends were doing and say like, man, this culture is thriving. Like the choice of having all the faces of their friends on there in the background are also like big parts of the culture. Again, it just screams how much they just love hip hop, man.
Oh, dude, good call. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, track number 5 is one that maybe you can't turn up too loud in your car because you don't want to be all like that. At least I'm not. I enjoy it, but hard to sing along with, if I'm being honest. So I'm just going to call this one Sucka, all right? And we'll leave it at that. So I got thoughts on this song. It's not one of my favorites, and not just because I can't sing to it, but like I want to hear your thoughts on this. This song runs for 4 minutes and 5 seconds. What's your opinion on track 5?
Love track 5, man.
Oh yeah?
It's definitely one of those that I immediately think of when this album, um, and it's really Q-Tip expressing his use of the N word and how much he feels like it's not a negative to him, and
Mm,
that's pretty much the song.
mm.
And like I said, I love it. I love the song. Big fan of Q-Tip's verses on it. Big fan of the bass line at the beginning of it that runs throughout the song. Iconic record. So many other people have interpolated this or referenced it. When I think of Common, Common, of course, had the which album is that on where he has to skit about somebody breaking into his apartment?
Oh gosh, I
Uh,
don't know.
I feel like a bad fan now because I'm seeing the cover and everything. Like I'm seeing the green cover and everything, but I
Right.
for some reason drawing a blank on the name of it. Um, Like it's the one where he has time traveling and like the Fela Kuti sample and everything on it.
Yeah.
I am looking at like Water for Chocolate. I think that's the title of it.
Oh, there you go.
And he has like all of the songs throughout about somebody breaking into his apartment, and at the end of it, he starts doing the hook to this song. But he's doing it in a very ironic way because he's basically like, "Hey, suckers, wherever you are, I hate y'all. Like, whoever broke into my shit, I hate y'all."
Oh, that's funny.
Um,
The message of it's fine. It's just I can't. You know what I mean? Like it's
it doesn't connect with you. I understand it doesn't connect with you, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
and I think I'm actually wrong. I don't think it's I think I'm picking the wrong Common album. I think it's actually One Day It All Makes Sense. It is. It's One Day It All Makes Sense because the skits are stolen moments because it's about somebody breaking his apartment.
Ah. Yeah, it's not necessarily a skit, but it's not one that I get into too awful much. You can't argue with the lyrics though, because I be hating suck MCs and the sucker, posing like they hard when we know when they know that damn card. What you figure rhyme wise, I do the figure eight so concisely. Musically, where the herbs will sit back and light me, inhale. Dude, that's pretty good.
Yeah, love it. Love that bass line. Love when the piano comes in. Great production on it. Like, I mean, this album in general, production on it is just incredible.
It really is. Freddie Hubbard's also got a bit in this, and we assume because this song was actually done over a loop from Jack Wilkins' version of Red Clay. So there you go. Yeah, you can't argue with the music and Q-Tip doing his thing, man. Again, you talk about MCs that have a recognizable voice, man. He's got to be one of the most recognizable MCs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
His delivery is so good. Yeah. Yeah, I can see its importance, but at the same time, yeah. But like the lyrics again, good. My style is kind of fat, reminiscent of a whale. Young girls' desires, older females' dreams. I'll be the abstract poet. The abstract thing. We're back to the abstract reference, Phil. There's a lot of that on Low End Theory.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what he called himself, wasn't it? The abstract?
Yeah. That's kind of
Yeah.
like his nickname.
Yeah. So the next song, track 6, I got it in my ears right now. It's called Midnight, featuring Raphael Sadiq. This song, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I can really. This song's really, really good. I really enjoy it. This song is 3 minutes 49 seconds. It crushes. It's awesome. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite ones on the album. What's your take on Midnight?
I like this record a lot. It's
Mm.
another one where tell you if you know the album, like you know all of these songs. I mean, if you've gone into any kind of tribe, anything like their documentary, like you can picture like all of these songs in it, man. And this is one of those songs like instrumentally, um, it just speaks to who they are as a group, man.
Mm.
Um, it sounds crazy to say that about just this song in general, but it might just be this album just because the production of it is just so synonymous with who they are.
What do you think about that sound effect in the background? Does that throw you at all? Because it's present through the entire song.
No, I think it's Tip's quirky production style where he'll pick
Yeah.
something and he'll find like some quirky noise in there that he likes and he'll really like it, so he'll keep it going. He does that a lot. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I feel like this works. It has like this funky, like almost like wah wah pedal sound to it.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's why it works because I think you're coming off of a song that is very heavily kind of jazz influenced, and then you come into this one and it kind of has like this funk, like uh, I keep thinking wah wah pedal, but like there's like the other like even the drum to it and everything. It's just tonally very different.
It is very different. Yeah, but dude, it absolutely fits. I really, really like this song, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if it fits Sadiq as a vocalist as well.
Mm.
Because Sadiq makes like very kind of like funk and like neo soul music, so I think it kind of fits like Q-Tip and what I think those two have made music together. Even when Q-Tip has done just songs with Sadiq on his album, I can see it fitting with those songs.
Mm. Some of the stuff here, it's some of the stuff folks may not know, but it's pretty interesting. As for me, I'm a nocturnal animal. Dark concentrates on a young black man who makes the inn speakers shake. The nighttime is busy. It's word to Aunt Kizzy. It's the time we get down. Yo, son, you know the sound. So the reference is to Aunt Kizzy is Kunta Kinte's daughter in Roots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I don't know if I made that connection. The night makes the R and the Jake can't hack it. The way the moon dangles in the midnight sky, dude, that's some good writing right there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I appreciate when the effort's there to make it. I mean, look, a song doesn't have to be beautiful. It can say whatever it wants to say, but when the extra mile is taken to like create a scene and show and set, you know, set the tone and tell a story, I just think it goes the extra mile, especially for this band.
Yeah, I think this song really ties back the themes of the record as well. They started the record in intro, letting us know that Midnight Marauders is we're like stealing and we're trying to bring this sound to you at midnight, and then you have the song called Midnight, and it's very much about like you know music at night. So it just
Mm,
kind of brings it full circle.
yeah. Yeah, it's good. It fits. It makes a lot of sense actually. So yeah. He shakes the stones in his hand and he lets it down. Scared money don't make none. He threw a tip on the ace. Now he's out, son. So it's a kid playing dice, rolled a 3 on the first roll, so he crapped out and lost his money. He's playing with scared money. There you go. That's why Q-Tip says scared money don't make none, because it's a well-known saying that if you play with scared money, you usually don't win.
Yep.
Very textured stuff here, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, great storytelling.
It is. God, man. Again, just and look, by this point, they're super successful. They probably don't have to do a third of this writing, and this album's still a hit. Maybe. But, we know Q-Tip's a perfectionist, man. You know that for sure. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's listened to something recorded 20 years ago and still to this day dissects it. Like, we could have done better. I should have done this. I'm like, dude, it's over. It was great. The album's awesome. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, you heard stories of A&R. They're just like come in the studio, like the album's done, like give me the album,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and he's still trying to he's still trying to fine tune some things on it and the album's been done. He's just like, look, it's done. I'm taking the album.
Yeah. Jesus, give it here. What are we doing? Yeah. He's a genius. I mean, I'm telling you, guys like him, I don't think this is a stretch at all for me. I don't think so. Guys like him, John Lennon, Bob Marley, they come along, Bob Dylan, they don't come along that often. I mean, guys who just naturally have an ear, guys who know what sounds right, what works. Like Q-Tips, he should be mentioned in the same breath as some of those guys, man, because like he just knows. Is he too obsessive with it? Maybe. But how many times has he been wrong? Honestly,
Not very often. I just feel like he's so important in hip hop culture. Like he's up there with names like Dilla and Kanye, the Pharrells of the world, Premier. Uh, I mean, I'm sure like you can make the argument, of course, that he doesn't have the production discographies that some of those other guys made, but I feel like his impact is just as important in some ways.
I totally agree. Totally agree. So track number 7, another banger, another good one. This is We Can Get Down. 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Again, getting some good work done here. Excellent tune. It's straight to the point. They repeat the chorus quite a bit through this song, but it works. I mean, I'm not your average MC with the Joe Schmo flow. If you don't know me by now, you'll never know. Stepping on my critics, beating on my foes. The plan is to stay focused. Only then can I grow. This is typical, I'm a great MC. Let me tell you why. I'm good with that because it's not something they do all the time, but when they do it well. What do you think of this song in particular, man? What's your opinion on this?
I love it. I love the verses on it. I love the production on it. I love Fife over the hook. Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
um, I love it. It's Q-Tip in his pocket in the verses and on the hook. It's kind of like I don't want to say it's a perfect record, but it kind of is. Like I love it.
From people busting caps and like Mandela being free, not every MC can be with the negativity. We have a slew of rappers pushing positivity. Hip hop will never die, yo. It's all about the rap. Some Mayor Barry smoking crack. Let's preach about that. Woo! Oh my. That dude got reelected, didn't he? And he did it again? Isn't that what happened?
I believe that he did. I wasn't old enough to vote then, but I'm pretty sure that he did.
Like, you're busted. There's a video. He gets reelected. Number one, how'd that happen? Number two, maybe don't do crack anymore. Like, I don't know.
America.
It is America. Don't give me a Don King here. Only in America.
Yeah, man. Come on, man. This is America, man.
It's fine. It'll be all right. We're all about second chances here. Not when you're still doing the crack. That's not a second chance.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Song also ends with the roll call with the automated voice.
Nice.
Where it gives us a Q-Tip, Ali Sheikh Muhammad, Jerobi, A-E-I-O-U, and sometimes Y.
So what's that a reference to? Am I missing something? Maybe I am.
I don't know. I've always known it from this album. Like every time I think of like the roll call at the end of the song, like I just think of them doing the vowels.
So turns out A-I-O-U are all vowels and Y technically isn't, but it's often pronounced like one, meaning Jerobi may not be a day-to-day member of the tribe.
That's right. Sometimes
there you go. But it's still treated as a core member. I didn't know that till just this very moment. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, of course, Jerobi in the documentary is the one that does the roll call, and he does do the A-E-I-O-U, and he looks right in the camera and says, and sometimes Y.
Yeah. We talked about that doc quite a bit on Low End Theory. Kids, that doc is so worth your time, man. So good. Yeah. God, I've watched that more than one time. So good, so interesting. Taught me a lot of stuff about the guys that I never knew myself.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I discovered from it that made me a bigger fan. And when I listen to the albums, I immediately think of bits of the documentary. Like there's a specific song on this album that I immediately think of scenes from the documentary. Like when a war tour is playing, like I can think of like Q-Tip going down the escalator dancing. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Or like when he does his tours, for whatever reason, he does that thing where he puts his hand over his eyes and he's looking throughout the crowd and he's trying to see as far as he can see. And he just does that a lot. It's just such a, he's just such a quirky guy. He's funny to me, man.
He is. Yeah. He's a different guy. He's got his own style. I mean, again, it's musical genius, man. Those guys tend to be different in real life too, not just in the studio.
Yeah. You think of him in the Getting Up video, with like those big rain boots on and like the Daniel Boone hat and a leather jacket.
Right.
Just an odd guy, man.
He is. Yeah. This song is really good, kids. 4 minutes, 19 seconds for this tune. It's track number 7, and we're halfway through the album. Let's talk about track number 8, Electric Relaxation. I mean, the title's worth at least hitting the play button for F's sake. What a great title for a song. This, in a conversation with XXL Magazine, Fife Dog revealed that the beat for Electric Relaxation was created in his grandmother's basement by Q-Tip, where I think they did a lot of the production here. He says, I just remember coming home from somewhere. My grandmother gave him a key, the whole 9. He used to just go in and do his thing. I came home from some type of trip and I walked into the kitchen and, he's in the basement. You could hear the music coming up and all I heard was that. I didn't even say hello to my grandmother, whoever's in the house. I was just like, hold on. Went downstairs and said, yo, what is that? He was like, yo, that's crazy, right? And it just became what it is now. On that record, he wrote my lines and I wrote his. Actually, we wrote our own lines. Then when we recorded, we traded. That's why the whole back and forth is the way it is. I don't know that I knew that.
I didn't know that, but their tandem on Electric Relaxation is so good. Their chemistry on it is so good. One of the best Tribe records of all time, in my opinion. Like it's one of their best records, production wise. I of course immediately think of Wayans Brothers because it was the first theme for Wayans Brothers. It's just one of those Tribe records that just makes you happy every time you hear it because it just makes you think of of who they are as a band, all of the things that they've influenced. It's just, to me, it's one of their best records by far.
It is. It's the second single from this album, and it finds the band mixing the back and forth from Check the Rhyme with the smoothest and similar subject matter of Bonita Applebum. Tip delivers his street poetry alongside Five's punchlines over a sample of Ronnie Foster's Mystic Brew.
Mm.
It's really good stuff. God, this is such a good song, dude.
Yeah, Fife very much gets off on here. He has the he has the bust off on your couch. Now you got Siemens furniture on here. Classic line.
Yeah.
One of the best punchlines.
Yeah. It's but hun, you got the goods like Madeline Woods. That's fun. That's good. She was a presenter on BET during the 90s. Says that Fife may have had a crush on her. Which is good. Yeah. Stronger than Pride, stronger than Teflon. Take you on the Ave, and you buy me links. Now I want to. Well, I'm not going to repeat that. We are rated PG here, kids. So there you go. Yeah, it's a fun song, dude. You haven't told me what your favorite track is on the album. Is it this one?
It's possibly this one or Lyrics to Go.
There you go. Yeah, good song, kids. Again, God, dude, this band has so many recognizable, memorable tracks that have stood the test of time. This is just one of them. I mean, when you start talking in excess of 5 to 6 songs the band's known for, you're talking about a something great, a legacy they're leaving behind. I mean, that's why I don't think anyone could ever argue with Tribe Called Quest about what they left behind, dude. It's really good stuff here.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. Track 9, kids, at 3 minutes, 16 seconds, is Clap Your Hands. And it's another fun track. This is a good one too, kids. Mixing elements from the hand clapping song by the Meters and Nautilus by Bob James. Five drops several names all throughout his verse, while Tip drops his smooth flow over the melodic tracks. This is a really good tune, man. You like this tune? Is it one of your favorite ones on here or what?
Yeah, it's another one that the documentary makes me appreciate more because it plays throughout the documentary. It has like the instrumental of it is throughout the documentary.
It is.
Like I like immediately when I hear the song, I immediately think of the documentary. So yeah, I can't say that I appreciated it as much before the documentary. I think I grew to appreciate it more afterwards. Yeah, it's not to say it's like a bad record. It's just one of those that I didn't always love.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's not something you gravitate to begin with, it may have to grow on you a bit, but I really like it. Favorite rap group in the world is NPMD. Can't forget the De La, due to originality. Great rhyme. And if I ever went solo, my favorite MC would be me. Five Dog Up in the House. I gave a shout out to Snoopy. Oh, come on. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, but Clap Your Hands, I feel like the same way that Midnight Marauders kind of brings back the title and the theme of the song, this brings back like the actual album cover and them making the decision to have all their friends' faces on the album cover. Their faces are not on the album cover, but their friends are, and it just shows like how much they care about not just the genre, but paying it forward and giving it up to other people that are making great music.
Plus, Five shouts out Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Rerun to Rogers, so it's What's Happening, Ren and Stimpy, Laurel and Hardy. That's fun. We'll have you scratching in your head like Shahid on Technics. That's fun. Yeah. Yeah, it's good times, man. I mean, I don't know this for sure. Like, how do you know if you don't really actually know somebody? But I imagine he was probably the most fun guy in the room at any given time. Just seemed like he had a really good sense of humor, man. Probably a fun guy to be around too.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff. Yeah, this song, very much a Tribe jam for sure. Great sound to it. The production is good. And as with most stuff this band has ever done, crisp, clean, the beats are on point. I know a lot of that is Q-Tip. A lot of it is Shahida also behind the scenes. But man, so much good stuff here, dude. So much good stuff. Tom Clark 6M Podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Everyday Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you. Also, as we move on here, kids, track number 10, we got the man Busta Rhymes is making an appearance on this album on Oh My God, 3 minutes, 29 seconds. I mean, Busta Rhymes kind of sets the tone here. Basically, in the album he's on, he brings life to it. He brings energy to it. The guy is just, when he's plugged in, he's maximum voltage at any given point in time. What's your take on Oh My God?
It's just crazy to think like those first two albums. Well, not the first two albums. These two albums, because it's not their first album, but their most recognizable albums. They have at least one Busta Rhymes song on it, and Busta's talked very like candidly about how much he cared about those guys and how much they involved him in the creation of the album and how they made him feel like part of the group. And how it always felt like a family. Like it, even in the documentary when he talks about it, he tells that story about how after they finished the album and they played it for him, he like cried because it was just such a great experience working with them. And definitely this album is not what it is without Oh My God. Like immediately when I think of this album, I think of him screaming, "Oh my God, yes, oh my God."
Yeah.
And of course, like the first album, it's got his verse on Scenario, which is iconic verse on it. Like all of the verses are still laid back. They're still like Q-Tip and Fife's usual pocket. But then when you get to the hook, it gets hyped because he brings that energy to it.
Of course, yeah. I don't know if he can do anything else than that, man.
I mean, he eventually does. He brought it down, but the story goes, of course, that Puff Daddy set him down once was just like, man, you're great, you're perfect, but the thing that's stopping you from going to the next level is I just can't scream with you on every record, man. You gotta bring it down for the ladies. You gotta bring it down so they can feel so they can feel you. And that was some of the best advice he ever gave him because he's made so many songs with a subdued tone. I mean, when you think of like Touch It, where he's like almost whispering at the beginning of his verse, and then he does the turn it up and he starts screaming in his usual cadence. But that works because it shows like his versatility as an artist.
Actually, good advice. Good advice. Yeah, not bad. The animated bus is so much fun to watch. This is the third single from this album. The song contains a sample of Who's Gonna Take the Weight by Kool and the Gang. And yes, of course, it features Busta. There was a music video in connection with this. I mean, it's got to be one of the most memorable songs on this album, isn't it?
It is. Like I immediately think of the video and everything that goes along with it. This is of course also a song where Fife reveals that he's a diabetic. When's the last time you heard a funky diabetic? And like, yeah, it's just so many things attached to this that I immediately think like Tribe, like him in the video with the New Jersey Devil jersey on. But again, I feel like that so much of this album in Low End Theory was just Fife coming into his own and discovering his own identity. Because when they first started as a group, they were all dressing in like the dashikis and they were wearing all of like the Afrocentric stuff and wearing all of the kind of stuff that you would expect them to wear. But then like the further you get away from the album, the more you see Fife dressing the way he wants to wear. He's wearing all the jerseys. He's wearing like the starter jackets. He's wearing the caps and everything. And that's who, like when I think of Fife and I remember who he is, I think of that period of their career.
And we also have to say, oh, you're right, of course. And we also have to say that Fife shouts out another crush here, this time Dawn from En Vogue.
He always will throw one in there. Always will throw one in.
And I'm going to tell you something, if you don't know Dawn from En Vogue, kids, if you don't know Dawn from En Vogue, you better go educate yourself because, dude, whew, yeah. Nothing wrong with that, I'm telling you. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he'll always let you know. He'll always let you know that he's He's digging somebody a record. He always
Yeah,
shouts somebody out.
that's fun. Even in San Domingo, when I got a gringo, how do you make a rhyme like that? Where'd that come from? Gringo and Domingo. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's Q-Tip, of course, but no, that's good. Fun song, kids, for sure. So, moving on to Keep It Rollin', featuring Large Professor. 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Again, it's one of those songs that, like, when you think about this album, is it one of the songs that jump out at you? Is it a classic to you? What's your opinion on this song, Phil?
I like Keep It Rolling a lot. It almost sounds like an interlude or a palate cleanser after Oh My God, because it's
Hmm,
so different. It's so different from the rest of the album because, of course, Large Professor produced it, and it works tonally because it has that same like jazzy feel to it. Um, but the way I reckon it, it just kind of sounds like after like this high of oh my god, it almost sounds like elevator music. It almost sounds like you're now like going down to the bottom floor in the elevator.
right. Yeah, that's fair. It's got a sample of the Roy Ayers Ubiquities version of Feel Like Making Love. And as we said, Large Professor's on it. At the time, it was in the midst of separating from his group Main Source, which he alludes to in his verse. So yeah, Large Pro talked about the track with Complex, and he said, quote, so there was this joint and I looped it up, and my boy Tony Rome and Yusuf, they had looped it up a while ago. And I was like, yeah, that's hot, but I never really knew what it was. But when I threw that record up there, I was like, oh, I remember this joint. Tip was like, yo, that's dope. Then I threw the drums to it and it was cool. I didn't think they were going to use it. It was crazy. He was like, yo, I'm in the studio and I got that joint you looped in. Come on, let's rhyme over it. So maybe it almost wouldn't have happened, which is crazy to think.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like Keep It Rolling. Like I said, it feels almost like a palate cleanser. If this is to relate to us wrestling fans, it feels like a cool down match.
Yeah. It's the let me up match, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
cool down match after like this big, high energy match right before the main event.
Mm. Yeah, that's fair. It's fun. Some of the lyrics are a little bit, yeah, they're a little bit raunchy, but that's okay.
Yeah.
These guys, they slow dance around the raunchiness sometimes, but I don't, unless I'm not thinking of a particular track or something, I don't recall them ever going too far overboard with some of that. They alluded to it quite a bit, but I don't think it ever went too nuts, did it? Unless I'm not thinking of something right now.
No, it's very subdued. In comparison to a lot of music we hear today, it's very subdued.
For sure. So, yeah, it's a good tune, kids, and I'm with Phil. I enjoy this also. It is different, but I do think it's worth it, and I think it belongs on the album. It's not so different; it doesn't fit on here, is it?
No, I think it fits well.
Hmm. So, track number 12, 4 minutes 2 seconds. This is the Chase Part Two, and this feels a little different also. And there's parts of this that I won't say it doesn't work for me or anything like that, but there's parts of it that feels a little disjointed. I mean, the beats are still there, the melody's still there, but there's moments of it where maybe it doesn't flow for me quite like the others do.
Hmm.
But what's your opinion on this song in particular?
Well, two things that this makes me think. You can see the influence from this song on a lot of MF Doom music, and I'm
Hmm.
a big MF Doom fan, and so like immediately when I think of this, you can see like Tribe and Q-Tip's influence on how he made music.
Hmm.
Um, but then back to the documentary, like it's impossible for me to hear this song without thinking of the documentary because the scene it's used in. Um, it's used right after they have that big falling out at Ring the Bells and sorry, Rock the Bells. Um,
Hmm.
wrestling in my brain. Like, sorry, ring the bell, rock the bells. Yeah, right after they're falling out at Rock the Bells, and they don't speak to each other for a long time, and they go back on a world tour, and the first time we see Q-Tip and Fife again after they have this big falling out is them doing the rehearsal for it. And this is the song that's playing when they're rehearsing the choreography for the song in unison, and it cuts to them doing their first show together, and it's them doing the verse. It's Fife doing the "You can't touch me, no, you can't touch me," and he's doing it first, and they're doing their tandem together off of it, and it makes me feel good in some ways, and it kind of makes me sad because it's like um, I'm very glad that they made up by the end of all of that stuff, and they made up by the time the documentary came out, and they made it before Fife passed away, but it also has like such a different meaning now that Fife passed away.
Mm,
Because like it just showed that these guys were like real friends, and
yeah.
when you have real friends, sometimes you fall out over something really stupid. And from what I've heard, the stories, it sounds like it kind of was a woman, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
which it sucks, but it- it's real friends go through those kind of things, and like it was in some ways very, very depressing to see those guys go through that. Like there's scenes in the documentary where they're arguing and you can see Ali in the background looking really, really uncomfortable, like,
Mm-hmm.
guys, come on. um,
Yeah.
and so it is great that they did find a way back to each other and they had mended everything by the time Fife passed away. But then you also think about like their last album they made, and Fife was gone by the time the album made it out. Um, so it's complicated, man. It's very complicated to think about like how good that scene makes me feel because those guys get back together. But then you also think of like, dang, Fife is not here no more.
I mean, I made the comparison with Lennon McCartney earlier. They managed to do what John and Paul couldn't do. They managed to mend fences and make more music together,
Yes, yes,
which I know it's a
yeah,
different situation, man, but at least they did bury the hatchet.
yeah. Of course, the song starts with Tip saying, "Yo, Fife, you're getting fat," which is
Yeah.
also a tie to their tension as well, because Tip was on him to exercise and on him to take care of his situation with the diabetes, to eat better, to get a better hold of his health. And
Mm.
Fife started to resent that. Like, you're not my dad. Like, we're friends. We're part of this group.
Yeah, I mean, as his friend, he's worried about him, but can that also be construed as you're only worried about making money with me? You think that was part of it, maybe?
I think it could be construed as Tip was just very controlling, and I think he just
Yeah,
started to get tired of that. And I think that again, that's just friends. Sometimes you get tired of each other, man.
sure.
You're real friends, and you spend a lot of time together. Sometimes you get tired of each other.
The part two of this song title, Kids, references a radically different version of the song Tribe demoed with lyrical similarities, but a much harder beat with the smooth nocturnal sounds of this record. It's not hard to see why Tribe chose to restyle this one. So evidently, this song had a much harder beat when they originally did it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. And this song kind of marks the end of at least the narrative of the tour and um the narrator from the beginning of the album, because
Hmm.
she kind of marks this as the end of the tour.
Hmm.
So this is kind of the end of that part of the album. So the last two songs kind of feel like bonus tracks.
They do. Yeah, well done. Well done. I don't dislike the chase part two. I'm going to clear that up. I don't dislike it, but just listening to the rolling, how everything else is so smooth that for me, it kind of stands out, but maybe not in a bad way.
Yeah.
So, number 13, to your point, Phil, two bonus tracks, I guess we'd call them lyrics to go, is really, really good. 4 minutes and 9 seconds. This was the B side to Oh My God. As we said, the third single from this album. It's got built around a funk guitar riff from James Brown and sustained high pitched note and Fender Rhodes loop from Minnie Riperton's Inside My Love. And it's awesome. Fife himself named this song as one of his favorites. He said Minnie Riperton probably had the greatest voice that ever lived. The way Q-Tip sampled this song and was able to incorporate it with the drums, that was crazy. I wish I'd been able to think of that. There's a sustained note that carries on throughout the song, and it's a crazy idea that I'm surprised no one else has been able to think of. Tip thought of it, and he's the man for that, most definitely. So, this your favorite on the album? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lyrics to Go is probably my favorite song on the album. Um, Another one of those that I consider one of Tribe's best songs.
Mm.
Uh, just genius sampling. The sampling that guitar riff over the Minnie Riperton sample, and then having the idea to go with the high note as the sustain throughout, that gives it like this like almost like ethereal feel to it.
Hmm.
I love it. And then of course the verses on it are great. Perfect chorus for this song. When I had a blog for a while, because I'm a big Lupe fan, big Tribe fan. I was trying to think of a name for my blog, and So my favorite Lupe song at the time was a song called Murals, and it's like an 8 minute song of him just rapping continuously. And I was trying to figure out a way to make that work. And so I was like, well, what if I added like murals to go, like food to go, like murals to go, and then somehow I landed on Murals for Thought, and that was the name of my blog, and
Ah,
it was inspired by this song and murals.
nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's a fun tune, kids. I mean, it fits. It's got a great that sustained note he was talking about. He's dead on. Like, it's awesome. It just sets it apart from everything else really on this record. It kind of almost doesn't fit, but I mean that in a good way. It doesn't take me out of the record. I think putting it at the end was maybe the right idea, but I think it absolutely fits here.
Yeah, works as like music over closing credits. That's why I said it
Mm.
works as like a bonus song.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Trials and tribulations that we had to endeavor, brothers no más estilo. It's a letter to the better. If you see a shorty that you like, then you sweat her. Silly with the microphone, in other words, I'm loco. 6'0" with my high complexion cocoa. That's good. Yeah.
Love it.
Again, fun lyrics, man. I'm all for this. And it's we've talked a lot about thing like bands like this on the 6M before about you can be NWA if that's your calling and that's what you want to do. Absolutely, scream and yell and get your point across, and yell about injustice and rage against the machine, Public Enemy. Absolutely, go do those things. We need those bands. Those bands are important. Those bands have a place. We need to continue those bands. Those bands need to keep going. We need to have new bands that are taking up the mantle to talk about things that are important. But then sometimes, you know, you don't have bands like that. It's more about the beat, it's more about the groove, and not necessarily it's make it radio friendly or anything like that. But again, man, variety is the spice of life, right? So I think every genre of music is better with variety. And I think Tribe, if there's one word I could link to Tribe besides jazzy soul, jazzy funk, I would say variety, because it's just, to me, that's what it is, man, in the best possible way. So yeah, so track 14, as we're wrapping it up, kids, 4 minutes 15 seconds, God Lives Through. Man, this song starts off, it's great. I love the way this song, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think this could have kicked the album off for me. I think it's that strong of a track. What's your opinion on this one?
Yeah, I love it. I feel like it fits in the same way when we talked about the very last Beatles song album, and how Paul made this choice of kind of doing it like a musical where it has like reprises of earlier songs, and like it
Mm,
did this very like musical or like theater way of closing off the album. This is the
mhm,
same way because it does the reprise of "Oh My God," and it
right.
has Q-Tip doing the la 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 la, and it very much feels like the end of a stage show.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, I said it could have introed the album, but you're right. Like, yeah. There's another shout out here for Shanice
He
from
always
Five Dog.
he always tell you he's feeling, man.
I'm not gonna repeat it. I ain't repeating it. You can go listen to it, kids. I'm not repeating that. So yeah. So oh my goodness. That's fun. Yeah. I love it. He shouts out Babyface in this as well. Tony Braxton. A lot of great shout outs here, man. Even shouts out The Exorcist, which is cool. Did Run DMC, Onyx. When's the last time you talked or thought about Onyx, Phil? Be honest with me.
I mean, well, you think of Fretro Star all the time because he did a lot of acting, so you see him on TV a lot.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I wonder how many people have like seen him on like Moesha and all these other things growing up and didn't know like he was a member of Onyx.
Dude, I think Slam is a solid tune. I still
It
think
is.
it's solid. I mean, it kind of sounds like it's written to be in the top 10 and we got to make some money with this record, but I still love it. I'm a fan. Just putting it out there. But yeah, this tune's good, man. I mean, it, like you said, it wraps the album up. Maybe a good way to wrap it up, but it ends it on a very, very strong note. I mean, listen back to this album for this show, man. Like I still think I prefer Low in theory, but I see going through all this that, yeah, I mean, there is a flow here. There is a flow. It's just for me, I just am such a huge fan of the other album. It's so hard to compare the two for me, but it worked, Phil. This album worked. It did very, very well for them, and it kept their band going and kept them in the minds of people everywhere, man. They were red hot at this time too, you know?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we got the love movement after this, right? And of course, the way they speak of the love movement in the documentary, that was kind of the beginning of the end. They were not getting along,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And that was kind of the start of them breaking up and uh, Q-Tip going his own way and making a solo album.
It should be noted that Beats, Rhymes, and Life and the Love Movement were both nominated for Grammys but did not win.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Beats, Rhymes, and Life is the next. Love
Yeah.
Movement was in '98. This album
99.
was '93. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Love Movement is 99.
But yeah, when you think of Tribe, like I feel like their stretch between Low End Theory and this album is really like their peak.
Mhm.
Beats, Rhymes, and Life, like it's a solid album, but it's not as noteworthy as those two albums.
Yeah, that's true. So I said 99, it's actually 98. So People's Instinctive Travels in the Paths of Rhythm is 1990. Low End Theory is 91. Midnight Marauders is 93. Beat Rhymes and Live is 96. Love Movement's 98. And We Got It From Here. Thank You for Your Service is 2016.
Very big fan of their last album. Again, it has like a very somber feel to it because Fife was gone by then. But it very much felt like a Tribe album. It felt like kind of like an ode to the things that they did well from Low End Theory in this album. Busta is on the album, Consequences on the album, and
Mm.
pieces like it's a very contemporary Tribe album.
Yeah. I don't know that I've given that album a chance. I'm going to be honest with you, but I need to now for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a good album.
Well, there you have it, kids. There's Midnight Marauders. There's all 14 tracks for you. This it's our humble review of this legendary album, and you have to say it's a great one, man. I mean, it definitely has its place. Am I correct in feeling like that? And this may sound like a criticism, but I don't mean it to. It's like they had a moment in time when they were so influential, and I mean, Five, of course, the diabetes took over, and then that eventually took him. But again, man, they had X number of years together as a group, and then when they came back together, it was like, man, they were crushing it. But it almost feels like it's a window of time. But feel for that to be just a snapshot of an era. Again, in my ears, this music doesn't sound dated at all. I mean, how do you manage to pull that off, man?
I know, man. Good music will always last, man. And I think
Mm,
that they made very good music in that time period. Um, Very influential music. And I think their love for hip hop and their respect for their peers always shined out. And so I think even after the fact, people appreciated that.
mm. Yeah, that's well said. Yeah, they were honest. There's something about being honest in your music. There's something about being honest with your fans and being honest with your audience and not pretending to be something that you're not. I mean, there's those kind of acts stand the test of time. That's why the Beatles have lasted as long as they have. The Beatles never tried to pretend to be something they weren't. AC/DC is the same way. I know it's odd comparisons, but those acts that are, they have a sound because it's what sells. Fans know that. They're not stupid. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obvious. I don't feel like Tribe ever lied to its fans, man. I think they were honest and I think they produced good music and stuff that stands the test of time. So every
Yeah.
band should be so lucky.
They were never like a commercially successful act either. They
Mm.
were very niche, if you want to say that. Like they were very much like what was considered backpacker rap when that was a movement. Backpacker rap
Yeah.
before backpacker rap was called that.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So, kids, there you have it. There may be more down the pike from this band. We may hit another album at some point. We shall see what we come up with. Phil, in the meantime, let's put a bow on it. What's your last word on Midnight Marauders?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best hip hop albums of all time. Marks one of the most noteworthy release dates in hip hop culture with this album and the Wu Tang album. Um, it's just one of those albums that stands the test of time because just the quality of the music, what those guys managed to do, and the mark they left on genre.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I have to totally agree with that. Yeah, go out of your way, kids. If you've maybe never been a fan of Tribe or maybe don't know much of their stuff, no time like the present. You can hear this stuff anywhere you want to these days. And go check them out, YouTube them, Google them, do what you got to do. Put this stuff in your ears. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. And if you haven't listened to them in a while, go back and put it in your regular rotation, because Tribe's in my regular rotation, man. I really love their stuff. I love what they did and what they brought. And again, never be forgotten, which is important. So check it out and enjoy. And that is Midnight Marauders. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.